Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the Paula Faris Show. I'm your host, Paula. All month long, I am joined by John. We are going to be revisiting the hottest topics from 2024 that will continue to be very hot topics in 2025. John, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Excited to be here. What a great way to start our new year, spending some quality time together with all of your viewers.
I know. And we have to give a shout out. We are doing Dry January again. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're probably wondering, Paula, why are you wearing a hat that says, I like wine? Well, I do like wine. We are doing Dry January, John.
Yep. Third year in a row. Excited about it.
Third year in a row. But we wanted to give a little shout out to our friend Trey Kennedy, the very funny comedian Trey Kennedy. He sent us a couple of bottles of wine from his new wine line, Basic Cellars, Cellars. He sent us this hat.
Yeah.
He sent us a couple bottles of wine, which we will be tapping into maybe February, March?
February, March. You're going to see, we're going to definitely do Dry January, and it might extend into Dry February. We'll see. We've always felt really good at the end of the month physically after going through Dry January.
Yeah. So, hey, Trey, a little shout out. Good luck to you with your new wine company. You got your hands in a lot of things. We love everything that you're about. Thanks for the hat, because I didn't feel like doing my hair today. So that was like, killing two birds with one stone. Okay, John. So as we dive into the new year, probably the hottest topic that we talked about in 2024 that continues to dominate headlines is menopause and perimenopause. In fact, I did a whole series on it. I talked to Dr. Mary Claire Haver, who is like the menopause doctor. I invited a couple of friends on the show to talk about their experiences with perimenopause and menopause and how doctors just kind of write us off. But the highest rated episode within that menopause series was the episode that you joined me.
Yeah.
Along with Dr. Jen Ashton to talk about nutrition and exercise, because that's where the majority of the questions that everyone has about perimenopause and menopause lied, with nutrition and exercise. Because the reality is, John, we cannot eat or work out like we did in our 20s and even in our 30s. Our bodies are changing. We could do the exact same thing we did in our 20s and 30s and we'll still gain weight.
Different results.
Yeah, it's totally different results.
Guys, just listen. It's so very important to support your partner. There's just so much that we don't know about perimenopause. I just learned about menopause in the last couple of years. And now I think I'm just more sensitive to the issue, trying to understand some of the things that you're going through. Yeah. And because of that, I think it's really strengthened our relationship. But knowledge is power. And you just have to understand that this is something real. It's not something that is just out there that women are using as an excuse why they're not feeling good. It is a real physiological challenge that women are going through.
John, you have been such a supportive partner. And I just want to say, it's made it easier in some ways, because you don't just brush me off. But in this conversation, I think we both learned, John, that we can't do things like we used to, right? But the goal,
that's the truth.
The goal is to build bone density and muscle mass. Mm-hmm. And so we have to work out. We have to lift heavy weights. The pursuit of skinny is killing us. That's something that Dr. Mary Claire Haver said in the menopause series. So those are a couple of things that I really took away. And our protein goals. Have we met our protein goals today, by the way? How much protein have you had today, John?
Not as much as I need to, but we just had a really good workout session this morning. And in addition to Dry January, we've added something else that I randomly have been doing for 2024, but I'm committed to do it in 2025. And I'm shocked that you've committed to doing it. We're gonna share it in a few minutes, but I'm super excited for some of the health benefits it's going to bring to us. Should be a lot of fun.
Something that I never thought that I would ever do. I still can't believe you convinced me to do this particular thing.
Yeah. We did it this morning already.
Yeah. Oh, I like that too.
Yeah.
We will tell you all about it after the conversation. But what we want to do now is bring back our favorite section of this interview with Dr. Jen Ashton, talking about nutrition and exercise in our midlife, during perimenopause and menopause. Jen Ashton, if you aren't familiar with her, she was the chief medical correspondent at ABC News for a very long time. That's how I know her. We go way back. She was also
she's the best.
Yeah, a practicing OB-GYN, has a master's in nutrition, and she recently left ABC and is the CEO and founder of Ajenda with a J. She's dedicating her life and her work now to weight management and women's health. I think you're going to get a lot out of this conversation with Dr. Jen Ashton. John and I sure did. And make sure you stick around for our takeaways at the very end and find out the one thing that John has convinced me to do that I never thought I'd do. But before we dive into like the what we should do, tell us a little bit about physiologically, Jen, our bodies are changing. I remember a CrossFit instructor told me that menopause weight gain was all in my head. Like it's a farce. It's just because we're not moving our body. And like literally, can you just tell us it's not in our head? There are things going on in our body. What is happening to us? Why are our bodies changing? And what would you like to tell that person that said it's all in your head and shaming us for weight gain? Don't blame your hormones.
What? I'm going to shame that person right back and say when they have a few more initials after their name, that gives them the qualifications and the credentials to opine on something that is science-based and not opinion, they should let you know. Until then, they should stay in their lane and zip it. And by the way, that extends potentially to even doctors who claim that because they have an MD after their name, that they're exercise physiologists. There are people who have PhDs in exercise physiology. That means 7 to 8 years of, extensive study and research in exercise physiology. That's not part of medical school. Now, I'm not suggesting that you can't self-educate, because of course you can, and that's really, really important. But those degrees, those credentials exist for a reason, right? So, just like I wouldn't deem to tell a certified athletic trainer how to help an elite athlete or a weekend warrior recover from something, similarly, trainers should not be telling women who are peri, post, or actually in the throes of menopause that it's, quote, all in their head. Okay, so that's like the first thing. So now that I've gotten that off my chest,
yes,
let's
blame the hormones right here. Let's blame it all on the hormones. It is not in our head, ladies and gentlemen, John. So
correct. But listen, it's also not as simple as estrogen level goes down, you're perimenopausal, and that's the whole answer. It's multifactorial, it's complex, it's nuanced. There's a big spectrum for individual differences here. But in general, and John, I hope you're listening to this, because this is gonna get your attention. Basically, at the age of 40 for men and women, lean muscle mass starts to decline to the tune of about 1% per year. Okay. That's why you start to see the dad bod in 40-plus-year-old men. Okay. And they still have testosterone, but it's starting to drop. Now, with women, we also have testosterone. That starts to drop. Perimenopause, as you probably have heard, can start as early as a mid-30s for some women. So it's multifactorial. Testosterone level drops because half of a woman's testosterone actually is made in the ovaries, right? So that means you have less lean muscle mass. As your estrogen levels also start to drop, you get redistribution of your body fat, because body fat, peripheral body fat, is an additional source of estrogen. So your body, being the brilliant machine that it is, says, hold on, your ovaries are making less estrogen. I've got an answer for that. I'm going to start storing body fat in the midsection, which is the worst place for it to exist.
Ever.
Correct. Why? And that body fat is going to start getting to work, and it's going to start picking up the slack and generating some estrogen. And then there's personal responsibility, right? We're moving less. That's just the reality. Like, look what we're all doing right now. We're sitting. So your movement goes down, your sleep quality goes down, and your quantity goes down, because this is a time in a woman's life where her kids, her career, everything is putting more demands on. And then, of course, you have the SAD, the Standard American Diet, or SAD, which is horrendous for our body weight and our body composition. And it literally is a perfect storm. And then let's not forget also obesogenic medications, which are way under conceptualized as a culprit in midlife weight gain. That is a known, very long list of medications that are conclusively known to result in weight gain. That doesn't mean we don't take them, because in some cases, hopefully in many cases, they're needed. But those are medications that as you get into your 40s, millions and millions of women are on. And they range from antihistamines to blood pressure medications to other types of hormones to antidepressants. You name it, they're on the list. And
I'm on three of those. Three of those that you just
yeah, there you go.
said, yes.
So when you put all of those things together and you load on top of that the fact that a lot of women in their 40s and 50s mentally are still hooked on that exercise mindset of it's cardio, it's cardio, it's cardio, it's cardio. I want to be thin. I want to be lean. That was fine then.
Yeah.
That's not fine now. And I think that the way that I encourage my patients and my viewers and my followers to think about this is when you were in your 20s or 30s and thinking of getting pregnant or having babies, if you did, your body needed something then specific for that time.
Right.
This is a different time and your body needs something different. So, as we've been hearing, and I think this is great that this message is finally getting out by a lot of doctors who have big, good platforms. It's a different time. We need to do different things.
Okay.
Period.
Right. Okay. So what do we do differently? Let's start with the nutrition and the weight gain, since that seems to be the source of the largest frustration amongst women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60s. I know Sarah and Tara and Cheryl and Kim and me, like these are our biggest questions. Like, how do we control the weight gain? Why do I just keep slowly gaining weight for no reason when literally nothing has changed? And yes, you just explained a little bit about that. We're losing our muscle mass and we're getting that belly. So can you answer that question? How do we control the weight gain when it is true? Like we can gain weight and nothing else has changed.
Correct. So the biggest thing, and you hear a lot of this is very buzzy, right? Like this diet, that diet. I want to be crystal clear. When I got my master's in nutrition, which was a 3-year Columbia University program, okay,
amazing, Jen.
Which had to, I think, and you remember when I started doing that.
I remember when you were going to school for this.
That's
like,
right.
You were doing, you're practicing OB-GYN. You were the chief medical correspondent at ABC, 2 kids, like just juggling so much, and you were going to school for this.
Right.
So bravo to you.
On the weekends. And then let me tell you, it was torture and culminated with a 100-page master's thesis of independent research that I had to do. What I learned then, which was shocking to me, and it just goes to show you how, you could take a course in nutrition or you could just read some articles and educate yourself, which is all amazing. But doctors learn zero nutrition in medical school. Okay. And there's a big difference between like reading some articles and taking a course that gives you a certificate, which again is better than nothing, and getting a PhD or a master's of science in the field, right? There's a very, very big difference. And what I learned is that, first of all, we need a lot more research in nutrition, in the field of nutritional science, because it's under research. It is difficult to study by definition of its intrinsic nature. Like it's hard to control variables when you talk about diet and food intake in the same way that we do with medication. It's much easier with medication and drugs to study that with rigorous methodology. But when you talk about diet and nutrition in this period of life, the issue is, as I said, with weight gain, multifactorial. It comes down to the fact that we have to strategize the fact that our lean muscle mass is dropping quickly and our fat mass is increasing due to all the reasons we just said. And the dietary or nutritional approach to that can be and has been shown to be in some studies, many studies, as rigorous as they can be, incredibly important. And what it comes down to is, and I'm just going to get right to the bottom line, protein, and not just any protein, but there's a formula which we'll go into, and I'll post it and send it to you so that you can
Please
post it
do.
for your listeners.
Thank
but
you.
It's 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Okay. So you do that math, you take your body weight, you divide by 2.2.
Okay.
That gives you your weight in kilograms. And then you multiply that by 1.5. Okay.
So I divide my weight by 2.2 and then I multiply that by 1.5.
Correct. That's the amount of grams of protein you should strive for over a day. Now, here's where it gets nuanced, and few people talk about this. So for me, that I try to get 80 grams of protein a day.
Okay.
Okay. That's very hard. Why is it hard? Because you have to eat a lot. You may have to eat when you're not hungry, and you really have to either measure or read labels and make sure you're getting 80 grams. It's not,
Yes.
an egg has 6 to 7 grams of protein. So it's not like you're going to have 12 eggs and be like, okay, I'm good. So it's actually hard to do that, right? You also have to spread that out throughout the day. And according to the literature, the magic number per meal to increase protein muscle synthesis is 30 grams.
Wow.
30 grams per meal?
Per meal.
Okay.
Right?
So, yeah, I got that.
I just did that math for myself. I have to eat 133 grams of protein.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
I have to eat 110. I weigh 160 now, which is more than I've ever weighed, but I do think I have more muscle, and I'm fine. I don't care about the number so much.
So the point is how do you do that? Now think of this like you would think of your finances. Okay. Like you look at what you have and then you start dividing it up, right? Like maybe you divide it up to an emergency fund, you divide it up into stocks, maybe real estate, maybe bonds, whatever. I'm not a financial analyst, obviously.
College, because I have 3 kids that may or may not go to college.
Whatever. But think of it the same way. Okay. So you have your numbers, what you just calculated, right? And then you start being strategic. And I want to get to one other thing, which is really important. Before I get to how you do it, there's an amino acid that's called an essential amino acid called leucine. Leucine, of all 20 amino acids, is hands down evidence-based the single most important amino acid for stimulating what's called MPS, muscle protein synthesis. All right. Without leucine, you're not building muscle.
Okay.
Leucine is essential because your body doesn't make it. So we have to ingest it. All right. Whey protein is it's the most easily digestible protein, and it's the most abundant in leucine. Okay. You can get leucine from plant-based sources, but it's hard. Okay. Harder.
How do you spell leucine, by the way?
Leucine. Okay.
Okay.
So all of the literature, especially the current literature in the last 4 to 5 years, focuses on the role of leucine in preventing the loss of muscle mass that we all get with aging, which is called sarcopenia. That's particularly important for men and women over the age of 65. Okay. So when we talk about frailty of old age, it largely is this vicious cycle of inflammation and breakdown of muscle mass, which is called catabolism. And leucine counteracts that. Okay. So when you think about how much protein you're getting, and it's not just protein and how much, it's when and what kind.
Okay,
now,
that's good.
Yeah. So plant-based sources are generally healthier for your overall body, for your brain, for your heart, for the environment, probably for your bank account because it's less expensive than beef. But you just have to be smart and read labels and look into whether or not that plant-based source contains leucine. I personally will tell you that I more practice moderation. I don't eat red meat. I rarely even eat white meat. I try to eat fish almost every day in some sort. I do eat eggs, which I didn't for a while, but then all my hair broke off and I was like, oh, not getting enough protein. So, it's really about moderation, but you have to read labels. And if you're eating anything that comes out of a package, which you should try to minimize because all processed foods are not great for you.
Right.
That is a fact. Of course, it's a reality that we need to eat processed foods because convenience, logistics, whatever, but try to minimize it. When you turn that bag or package around and look at the ingredients, personally, as a nutritionist, as a doctor, I look at two numbers, added sugar and protein.
Okay.
So you want to keep the added sugar as low as possible because for women, it's a max of 25 grams of added sugar a day. For men, it's 36 maximum.
Max? Wow. Okay.
Okay. And so to close the loop on this, whether you're a man with dad bod or a woman in perimenopause or postmenopause, protein is essential and it will keep you full longer. So you won't be like starving to reach for some crappy food choice of empty carbs. But most importantly, it will fuel your muscle protein synthesis to keep you fit and strong and healthy.
Awesome.
Jen, you said something very interesting. Most general practitioners, they don't have any studies in nutrition. Why do you think that is? And typically they're just prescribing drugs to offset weight gain or issues. Is there a reason why that's not? Is that tied to the drug companies because there's so much money there?
I think it's a couple of things. And I really always give people the benefit of the doubt because as Paula knows, I'm really a glasses half full type of person.
I appreciate that about you too, Jen. I do.
Thank you. I think the reason for it is that in medical school, if you're a doctor in your 40s or 50s, or potentially even late 30s, there was no teaching of nutrition in medical school. The lecture we got was how to feed a critically ill hospitalized patient. That was our nutrition lecture.
Whoa.
Okay. Through a tube, by the way, not with real food. It was like, how do you adjust for the nutritional requirements in a critically ill patient who can't eat orally via their mouth? Okay. So one, they're not informed. Two, they're not educated. Two, because they're in practice, whether that's in a private practice or a medical center, hospital setting, they don't have time.
Yes.
As we said, it took me 3 years to get my master's in nutrition, and it was not cheap. And I did it because I wanted to for my career, but I also did it because my marriage was ending and I was like, well, I don't really have a reason to be at home, so I might as well go to school every weekend and do something productive. Most people don't have that situation. So, it's a logistical, it's a way that doctors are educated. And, you mentioned drug companies, and I want to be very clear. There are 6 or 7 FDA-approved weight loss medications. I believe in them and I use them. I prescribe them, and I have for 10 years for patients who need to lose a significant amount of weight, meaning 30 plus pounds, and have a history of trying to lose weight without success, which, by the way, is 85 to 90% of all people. Okay. So I think there is a very significant role for those FDA approved medications. But the key is ideally prevention of weight gain before you get to that point. And it's also not either or. If I have someone who needs to lose 30, 50 or more pounds, guess what? I'm going to fill the boat and have them do everything. It's not one thing or another because I want them to get to a healthier place and feel better as quickly as possible. Not like, let me torture you with a year of this so that you can feel badly about yourself. And then we wouldn't do that. Look at the parallel. Would you say that if you were talking about depression or anxiety? No. I would say, guess what? I want you to go to a therapist, and I think you might need medication. It's not either or, it's both.
Yeah.
Jen, so we tackled nutrition. Let's talk about exercise and how we move our bodies differently. And one thing I've always appreciated about you, you have 2 kids, but your daughter Chloe is a D1 women's hockey player. Like, she was strong. And I remember you'd come into the GMA dressing room and you'd be like, Paula, look at how strong she is. Like, you would just brag on her. And she was not skinny. She was strong. She's 150, 160 pounds of pure muscle. You love strong, not skinny.
Correct.
And And you always have. And so talk to us about strong versus skinny and how we need to be moving our bodies, what we need to be doing specifically at this point in our lives.
So I would say that when you talk about perimenopause, and let's just arbitrarily, draw that line in the sand at age 35 for a woman. So any woman over the age of 35, including women who are solidly postmenopausal or in menopause, meaning over the age of even 60. Okay. The goal for me, partially inspired, and it's hard to tell which came first, the chicken or the egg. I was an average athlete when I was in high school. My daughter was an elite athlete, obviously, but genetics aside, as you said, and it means so much to me that you remember that. My goal for myself and my daughter and my patients and my friends and my family has always been strength over aesthetics. I believe that when you're strong, the aesthetics will come.
True.
And if you're strong, fit, and healthy,
it's good.
You're gonna look good. So you don't have to worry about that. That will take care of itself. I think in watching my daughter's progression as an elite athlete from the age of 5, 7, 9 years of age through college, now she's 24.
I can't believe Chloe's graduated, starting law school. My mind is blown.
I know. Wait, in 4 to 5 years, I guarantee you she's going to have her own baby. And then you and I are really going to lose our minds. And by the way, now she's settled at her non-elite Division I weight, as she's around 131 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
She is still the strongest woman I know. And it's because she trains for power and fitness, not aesthetics. Think about exercise along those lines, and you think to yourself, okay, I've had my babies. I'm now in training for menopause. I remember before you had your third, I said to you, a woman who's not finished having babies should always train for pregnancy. Because remember my saying, pregnancy is an athletic event. You should train for it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, so is menopause. And so the sooner you're done having babies and start training for menopause, the better your menopausal transition will be. And I would say the same thing for the male partners and spouses out there. Why wait for the dad bod when you know it's coming? There's physiology behind it. Start training for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's not because women have a problem with a male belly, because clearly we don't.
We glorify. It's like you can have a dad bod and that's hot. But I mean, there's
Paul,
no
you don't have
such
to
thing.
worry about that with me. You're fine there.
I actually tell John, I'm like, dude, dial it back a little bit. It make me feel better about myself, because he's so dedicated and disciplined. I'm like, I like a little dough. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's hot.
Nobody says a mom bod is hot, right? There's such a double standard.
Right. That's true. But anyway, so when you talk about exercise, the bottom line for women, especially perimenopausal, especially women 50 and over, 60 and over, is you have to lift weights, and you have to lift heavy weights. Okay. That is the bottom line. It's no more of this, 20 million reps at light weight. No, That is not going to change how you look, and it's not going to change how strong you are, because you need time under tension on the muscle to stimulate MPS, muscle protein synthesis. It's harder as we get older, and so it requires more. The good news is you can still achieve that, but it takes more. It takes more protein and it takes heavier weight. People think of exercise and they think one track, one lane. It's not like that. We need yoga. We need strength. We need flexibility. We need balance. We need endurance cardio and we need HIIT cardio. Like, it's everything. It's not one thing. And that's what can make it really daunting for people who really freaking hate to exercise. Like, I am not the norm. For me, it is my main source of stress relief, and it always has been, always. But most people hate it. And you know what I say to those people? Do you love brushing your teeth? No, but you do it.
I kind of like brushing my teeth. I actually love it. I'm weird. But I don't love exercise.
But guess what? You still brush your teeth in the morning, right? And at night. So like, if you think of exercise, like, this is a non-negotiable part of my day. It has to get done. Just like if I didn't brush my teeth, not only would I have bad breath, but I would have some major dental disease. Same thing with exercise. You wouldn't look good and you wouldn't feel good.
So then you would encourage somebody, if they're trying to be active 4 or 5 days a week, heavy weights once or twice, a yoga, a flexibility, maybe some aerobic activity, just like mix it up throughout the week?
I think mix it up. First of all, I subscribe to the 6 days a week, 1 day of rest. You know, at the end of the day, and I've been saying this for over 12 years, literally since my first book came out, your body needs 3 things every day. It needs fuel, it needs rest, and it needs movement. That's the trifecta of good health. And if one of those things is not there, you will feel or see the consequences of it. It's one is not more important than the other. They are all critical. So when you talk about how you divide up your week, John, which is a really important question and strategy.
Right. Great question.
It should be mentally stimulating, because if you get bored, you're dead in the water. So like, it's nice to have a plan, but as long as it's different and fun and challenging for you, it works. I would encourage people not to look at it so singularly, like, today is my yoga day, because guess what? Yoga can be cardio. Yoga can be balance. Yoga can be strength. Yoga can be flexibility. So don't look at it like, which one of these things necessarily am I accomplishing? Look at it like, you have to be active 6 days a week. How are you going to do it?
Okay. So Jen, a lot of people don't have access to a trainer. John and I belong to the YMCA, our local YMCA, which I recommend to anybody. You can get a monthly family pass. Our entire family uses it. Okay. So you said 6 days a week, right? With 1 day of rest. I'm somebody that doesn't know how to create a workout. Like, John does. So this question may not be for someone like John, someone that's a little bit more intuitive as to what goes on in the gym. Somebody like me that doesn't know really where to start. I know I need it 6 days a week. Like you said, I know I need to lift heavy. I need the anaerobic. I need the flexibility. I need the balance, the yoga, the HIIT. Is there any place I can turn to? Is there a program? Like, where do I begin?
The good news with the internet and social media or magazines is that there is so much free content out there that people can find what they like. You can go to YouTube. You can go to even someone like me who's been lifting weights since I was in high school.
Wow.
Before I started this 6-month experiment, I would go to the gym and I would scroll through Instagram quickly and under the search key and search like shoulder exercises and all of these free videos. And I would be like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that. So you can do that, or you can do something more formal, or you can just literally start anywhere. And I'm going to tell you, like, balance. You guys try this, and I'm sure, knowing you too, you'll make it into a little competition.
Yeah.
Every morning, brush your teeth standing on one leg.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is engaging your core. and by the way, everyone has a strong leg and a weak leg. So you're going to start to feel like whatever. Okay. And then at night, do the other leg. And that not only works different cerebral hemispheres in terms of the side dominance that we all have. If you really want to get fancy, you can try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand.
Okay, but that's complicated. And tapping our head with the other, or rubbing our stomach too at the same time.
But it's a balance, and it's a strength kind of exercise that you can do twice a day for free, right? No instruction required.
Yes.
And then, I'm going to be putting a lot of the exercises that cost zero money, require zero equipment in the next issue of my magazine with Corey, with pictures, because there's been so much interest. But there's access to content everywhere.
Yes,
and I will say that there's, just like anything in the fitness, nutrition, even the menopause world, there's a lot of kind of narrative that like everything else you're hearing is wrong. I'm going to tell you the right way. I would encourage people to have an open mind and say, you know what? There's very few things in life where things are that binary, right? Where there's like right or wrong. And when it comes to fitness, the only thing that matters is that you do it and that you push your body, because you will not get any kind of a result or improvement or change unless you push your body.
That's good. That's really
it.
Good.
However you do it might be right for you, might not be right for me. That doesn't mean that your way is wrong. It just means that it's individually kind of distinctive and different.
As we wrap up, and John, you may have another question, but skinny is killing us. Like, and explain to us, and you did, the importance of being strong, but can you just like hammer away again why and how skinny is killing us, and that the goal should be strong?
When I see a man who's, over 65 and they're skinny, I don't think skinny, I think frail. And this is a real problem for men, and it's a massive problem for women. And it ultimately has to do with the lack of a gravitational stress on our musculoskeletal frame, which leads to osteopenia and osteoporosis. Yep. But age-related sarcopenia, which is the loss in muscle mass that happens with age, is a universal phenomenon. So if we know about it, again, think of the financial analogy. If you know that a financial stressor like college or a move or something is coming, don't you plan for it? This is no different. So when you think of skinniness for women in particular, first of all, I have a saying that I think is very true, which is skin sagging with age is inevitable. Muscle sagging is not. Like,
oh, good.
And so I'm 55. My skin is different now than it was 5 and 10 years ago. Okay, it should be. I'm on the planet another 5 or 10 years. But guess what? I'm stronger now than I was 5 years ago. And so that's really what you care about. The other thing that I think never gets enough mention is that, as ominous or kind of potentially morbid as this sounds, it is important to have a little bit of a cushion in terms of body weight in case there's an accident or illness. And women in particular who like to be that super thin, lean, their lowest body weight, all they need is one norovirus, one influenza, one bad illness, let alone something more significant and serious like breast cancer or something, or a car accident. And they're going to lose 10 pounds like that immediately. And not only is that not going to look good, because it's okay, but it actually impairs recovery. So I'm not suggesting that we want to walk around with a 10-pound cushion, but a couple of pounds is not a bad idea, especially if it's the right body composition, which is muscle.
That's awesome.
So, it's not, and I think that when you look at popular culture, the aesthetic also has changed now. That super, super skinny look is not even in right now.
It's not.
So I think we can agree. It's not about the skinniness.
And John, you can attest to this. Like our daughter and so many of her friends, Caroline plays volleyball and runs track and field. Like they celebrate strong. On Instagram, they're always, you look so strong. Like they loved watching the Olympics and seeing these strong athletes, not skinny. So it's a culture shift and it's amazing to see.
Right. I mean, those women track runners.
Oh,
yeah.
And let me tell you something. They're not like, have a carrot stick. They're like, let me get my protein in. And they're getting like, they're packing in over 100 grams a day because they are about as strong as it gets.
Yep.
And we should celebrate that athletics and athletes and what they look like. And I know, some of the challenges with menopause that I've even faced with Paula, it's how she starts viewing herself differently and the emotional toll that it has. And I don't know what you would tell somebody like Paula or anybody who's going through menopause. I know there's some proactive things that we talked about, but what can you do from a mental standpoint? Because you start looking at your self-worth and your beauty and things, and it's definitely much more of a female thing. And so maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, Paula, but I know you've had some challenges with that just as your body has changed.
I appreciate you asking that, John, and you're not speaking out of turn. You're being a supportive partner, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think that's a really good place to kind of, come full circle with that question, John. And, what I tell people and what I have always told people is that menopause is a privilege reserved for only the women who are living. Mm-hmm. And, a century ago, women didn't live that long.
That's right.
Right. So they weren't, living to 88, 90 years of age. Now they are. And so just like we celebrated puberty and pregnancy, this is another important stage and milestone, I think, to celebrate, and to do so without anger, without blame, without shame, it's just like we're better than that. It's very easy to say, well, society doesn't value women over 50 because they can't reproduce, which, by the way, I believe is correct. I think that statement is 100% on point. Okay, so what? Are we going to now rant and rave and pout and sulk and, stomp our fists about it? No. Get on with things, which is let's think about what we've done, what we've accomplished, what we have to offer, and let's think about our health and well-being in the most positive way. And also, and I know that Paula is going to agree with me on this, as a mother, every single thing that I do, whether it's personal or professional, is done with my two children who are now 24 and 26 in mind, that I am teaching them. They are watching me and they are listening to me. And the last thing I want is for either of my children, my son or my daughter, to see an angry, blaming, vengeful, mother who says, why am I going through menopause? No, I want them to see someone who meets this challenge and stage in my life with optimism, with confidence, with curiosity, and says like, okay, bring it on. Like, let's see it. And I think that's the important mental component.
Yeah. That's so good, Jen. That's just like a mindset shift right there. And that's, besides the nutrition and the exercise, like I think that might be even more important, how we talk about this, how we treat it, how we go about it with a positive, meeting it head on, proactive. It's inevitable. Let's do this. Let's meet it head on, face on. And by the way, you could totally kick my ass. I'm pretty sure. Like you're so strong. I can't even believe it. John, who would you take in that fight? Me or Jen?
Baby, I got to side with you. You're my. I'm always going to be in your corner.
Smart answer.
Yes,
I love it. Oh, Jen, it was such a treat. We have to connect offline. I got to hear about everything that's going on. But real quick, how can people stay in touch with you? You have your magazine, which comes out how many times per year? Your publication?
Now it's coming out twice a year. We'll see if that increases next year. And then on Instagram at Dr. Ashton. And then, listen, I'm going to break this news now. No one knows.
Oh, listen in.
There will be a television and podcast coming in 2025.
Wow, that's exciting.
This is awesome. So you know what? If anybody deserves it, the way that you were able to break down complex conversations and complex topics, and I don't want to say dumb it down, but that's essentially what you've been doing. You put it in layman's and women's terms. There's nobody better, Jen, than you.
Well, listen, we did a lot of live national television together, and I would say your skill right back at you.
Oh,
and I forgot, by the way, and I hope you guys, both of you, signed up for my free weekly newsletter at Join Ajenda, and it's Agenda with a Jen.
Like Dr. Jen.
I like that.
I love it. I love
Join
that.
Agenda. And every week it's really the topics of weight management, nutrition, women's health. And I have an added thing about the 6-month experiment in there too, that people can follow along. But
so good.
It's been really fun.
Awesome, Jen. Thank you so much.
I love it. I love you guys.
We love you.
Great seeing you again, Jen.
You too.
I'm so excited for Dr. Jen Ashton in this new season, John, post ABC, this new world with Ajenda and her, complete commitment to women's health and weight management. I'm super excited to check out her TV show and her podcasts that are coming up this year. And if you haven't already signed up for her free newsletter at joinagenda.com, make sure you do so. And if you're not signed up for my newsletter at paulafarisofficial.com, make sure you've signed up for that. We keep it real. We continue the conversations that we're having here on this podcast, bonus material, insider access, fun giveaways. It's like literally must read for John every other week, right?
Yeah. What Dr. Jen is doing is so important. And it's shocking how few people are actually talking about it. And what we found out in that episode is the reason why they're not talking about menopause, nutrition, is because most doctors aren't trained, or if they are trained, it's very small portion of their training. So they don't feel like experts in being able to talk about menopause, perimenopause, nutrition. What they typically will do is subscribe to take some drugs, medicine, things like that. That's not the best way to treat things, in my opinion. Now, there's some things that only medicine can treat, but most things comes down to diet, exercise, understanding how your body is changing through this perimenopause and menopause phase. I think education is huge, and she's doing a great job bringing this to the forefront.
If you go back, I encourage you to go back and listen to the full episode from Dr. Jen Ashton and the entire series that we did on menopause. It was very eye-opening for me, and I've heard from so many women. Again, the whole series was our highest rated series of 2024. But one thing that Dr. Mary Claire Haver, the menopause doctor, had another doctor on, said is that the majority of doctors are uncomfortable talking about menopause.
Because they're not trained.
Because they're not trained. And so they don't know what they don't know. So we have to inform ourselves. Okay, but this is my big takeaway from that conversation, that it's multifactorial. It's not one thing. Yes,
great word.
I would love a magic bullet, right? I'd love a pill to change everything. But it really comes down to two main buckets, and that is nutrition and exercise. When it comes to nutrition, John, protein is essential because it fuels your muscle protein synthesis. That's according to Dr. Jen. And not just
protein, whey protein. And that's very hard to get in your diet. You may have to take that as a supplement. And I've been taking that since she talked about this in the conversation earlier.
Is that why you're so ripped? Because
of course
of the
it is.
Protein?
Whey protein is just
oh my gosh,
pumping through my blood vein.
I have to say, you're looking good. You are really dedicated to this. But if you want to find out how much protein you need per day, and by the way, this is kind of like an inside joke with my friends and I, because I feel like that's all we talk about. Cottage cheese recipes and how much protein we've had each day. But Dr. Jen gave us that magic formula. And what you have to do, so I weigh 165. All right. I've actually gone up 5 pounds since the summer, since we did the menopause series. A little transparency there. You divide your body weight by 2.2, and whatever that equals, for me, that's 75. Then you multiply that by 1.5. Again, take your body weight, whatever your body weight is, divide it by 2.2, and then multiply that number by 1.5. For me, that means I need 112.5 grams of protein per day. And like Dr. Jen said, you have to spread it out throughout the day. The magic number per meal is 30 grams per meal. And I think I've been doing that wrong because I'm like, ooh, I can get 60 grams of protein in one meal.
Spread it out.
That's not going to be very effective. So 30 grams of protein per meal is the ideal. And again, we each have a magic number that we're trying to hit.
Yeah, I'm trying to get 136 grams. That's a lot.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's almost, I need 30 to 40 grams per meal.
Okay. And then the other killer of all of us in our midlife is the added sugar. For women, 25 grams of added sugar max per day for women. So that's not just natural sugars. We're talking added sugars. Yeah. So keep an eye on your protein and your added sugars. And then the other bucket besides nutrition is exercise, total body movements. And the goal right now is building muscle mass, building bone density, lifting heavy weights. Like Dr. Mary Claire Haver said something in our episode. And again, go back and listen to the whole series. She said, Paula, I want you to be an ass kicker. I want you to be able to throw a toddler across the room. Not literally, because, but be an ass kicker. She said the pursuit of skinny is killing us. And she said if she could go back and tell her younger self anything, she would say, don't give a, what you look like in a bikini. The pursuit of skinny is killing us. That's why you see frail people in the nursing home. Like I just visited my mom, in the nursing home. Frailty is everywhere. And I can't get that visual out of my mind. So heavy weights, right? And wear a weighted vest.
That's what we've been doing.
Yeah. And
Paul, there's really no excuse in today's society. There's so much information about workouts. You can go on ChatGPT, you go on Instagram, you can search what type of workout for where you are in your life and what you're trying to accomplish. It will create it for you, but then it has to fall on your shoulders. Will you follow it consistently? Not just in the month of January, but throughout the entire year, because that consistency is the most important thing in life, but especially when it comes to working out. You can't just go hard one day a week. You need to do it multiple days a week and multiple months throughout the year.
Yeah. And like Dr. Jen said, for her, it's a non-negotiable. So it's kind of a mindset thing. Do you want to tell everybody the thing that you've convinced me to do that I've done twice now, and I can't believe I'm doing it and I feel great?
Yeah. So for January, the month of January, Paula and I have committed to doing this together, cold plunges.
Wait, we're not getting in the tub together.
No, you do it and then I'll do it. But we're going to be doing it 3 times a week. That's our minimum. Maybe we'll see. Get to 4 or 5. We actually cold plunged this morning. We worked out. We did a cold plunge. And I just feel amazing right now. There's so many benefits to cold plunges.
This is the first time that I heard you say 3 times a week. No, I've done it twice.
Okay. In your life. You've done it twice in your life. Yes. This morning was number 2.
Great. My toes totally went numb, but I have to say it is a rush of energy like I haven't had before. But what is tell me one of the benefits of cold plunging. I still can't believe that you've convinced me to do this.
Reduced inflammation is one of the big things. And there's so much inflammation we get in our body right now. It helps you recover from a workout. It boosts your immune system. It improves your sleep quality. There's weight management benefits. It's going to stimulate your metabolism. For men, it helps create more testosterone. There's so many things we've studied. It really just helps you then. And for me, when you get in that cold water, you have to take your time and focus and breathe and be very still. So that's another benefit. You focus on your breath as well.
I still can't believe that I hate cold water.
Yeah, I know.
We live on a lake, and we live on a lake. We have water everywhere, and I don't love going in because I hate being cold. But I have to say, I'm committed to just January. I'm not a resolution girl. I'm more of a goal girl. But I'm just making a general goal of pushing myself, doing things that I never thought that I could do, right? Just stepping outside of my comfort zone.
And we're not going like extreme cold plunge. This is like water that's in like the
bathtub
40s. We do it in our bathtub. We can add some ice to it. We're not getting in like 30-degree water. Maybe in the future we'll grow to that. But after 2 times doing it, what is the immediate feeling or benefit you've had?
Just a rush. I feel a lot of mental clarity. And it's honestly like a mood booster. Yeah. So and it's right there in our tub. We don't have a fancy, a fancy machine or anything. We're literally just filling our bathtub up with cold water. Okay. So let's go back. Multifactorial protein.
Yep.
Okay. So that's your nutrition. Your exercise is heavy weights. Chat GPT it. I search on
Instagram. It's out there.
Yes. It's all out there. Commit to it. But beyond the diet and the exercise, there are a couple of other things that I'm doing specifically for this time in my life perimenopausal. I'm all pushing 50. I'll be 50 this year. Vitamin D. Most women in perimenopause and menopause are vitamin D deficient. Ask for a vitamin D test. I am deficient, so I've been on vitamin D for a couple of months. I'm also on hormone replacement therapy, HRT. And I know people have, specific views about this, but we are hemorrhaging estrogen in our perimenopausal years, and estrogen, the lack of estrogen, is what's leading to so many diseases. So I'm on HRT. If you don't know how to take those steps, what you want to do is first talk to your gynecologist and vet your gynecologist. A, how trained are you in menopause? And B, how comfortable are you prescribing hormone replacement therapy? If they don't pass that test, what I want you to do is one of two things. You can either go to the Menopause Society, and I will put a link in the show notes, find a menopause trained doctor in your area. And if you don't want to do that, you can take my route. I went the telehealth route. I contacted Alloy Menopause. They are just menopause trained OB-GYNs, and they will treat your symptoms. I talked to a doctor in my area online on a Tuesday, and I had my HRT therapy on my front door by Friday. So if you want to cut through all the red tape, that's a great way to do it. I'm wearing a patch, I have cream, and I have a pill. So that's what HRT looks like for me. And I wear a hairpiece sometimes because my hair is falling out. Look, it is multifactorial. There's not a magic bullet. We have to commit to it, but I am committed to staying healthy. Just seeing my mom in a nursing home and assisted living, John, it has opened my eyes. I don't want to be frail in my later years. And the way that we prevent disease and frailty is by lifting heavy.
Starts now.
Yes, it starts now. It
does. So 2025, Paula, you and I, we're just very committed to being the best version of ourselves. Yeah. We're not trying to be Olympic athletes. We are just trying to take what God has given us and use it to the best of our abilities and train our bodies and take care of them.
Well, you're looking good, sweetie. I just got to say.
Well, thank you.
All right.
You're looking good too, girl.
Next week, as we continue our hot topics of 2025, we are revisiting a conversation that I had with therapist Sissy Goff and our teenage daughter, Caroline. The conversation is about how we can relate to our moody teenage daughters. Again, one of our highest rated episodes. Teenagers is going to be a huge narrative going into 2025. But Jesus,
I know it's one of your biggest challenges right now, the evolving relationship with you and our daughter. Teenage years, it's crazy.
It's going to put me in an early grave, I tell you. It really will.
That's why these cold plunges are going to be so important to increase your mood.
All right, John, we are kicking this month off on a high note, and I can't wait to see you right here next week. Everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we will continue to talk about it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
I know you guys thought you were done with me, but not quite yet. I have one more thing to tell you about. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to subscribe to the show. I don't want you to miss a single beat or a single conversation. And remember, my DMs are always open. Tell me what you want to talk about.